All right. Well, welcome everybody to our conversation. And this is Sunday, January 5th. And my name is Clarke, and my co host is Joe Mulhall. So I'll spend a second introducing myself. And hopefully, as you're listening to this, either live or in the recording, the key point to this is conversation. And one of the visions that we have is to be able to offer a platform to ask different questions, to guide you to an opportunity to revision your life in whatever that looks and feels like, that is different from what is generally out there at the beginning of January, which is resolutions, grind, effort, deprivation, and misery. And there is a better way. We are living proof that there is a better way, and that is what we want to hack for you so that you can enter and enjoy 2020 and every year from a different place of joy. So, as I said, my name is Clarke. I come to you with I'm 57, so probably 40 years as a high school teacher, as someone who has a background in kinesiology, health sciences, and nutrition. I'm an energy worker, so I'm able to tap into how to help our bodies flow with what is going on out in the environment, because whether it's something you're aware of or not, we are connected, all of us, and we are also connected to the earth, the sun, and the stars. And when we learn how to flow with as opposed to against, it's like getting in a canoe and paddling upstream versus paddling downstream. Which one's going to be easier? So those are things that I am passionate about. I'm also passionate about helping teach you how to listen to your body talk. So translating the sensations and the feelings and the what we call emotions that your body has, those are just the way your body talks to you. And what people aren't teaching, and what I love being able to do, is help translate for that into English so that you can say, oh, that's what my body's trying to tell me? Yeah, that's what your body's trying to tell you. Everything you need to know, your beautiful, gorgeous, juicy forever home is able to share with you. And once you learn the language, it's like learning any new language. You're going to suck at it at the beginning, but the more you practice, the more you're going to get comfortable listening to, understanding, and coming on board so that you become this juicy little package that you're meant to be as you journey through this adventure in life. So we have some things we're going to talk about today in this part of the conversation. And at the end, we're going to have an interactive opportunity for you. So if there's questions that come up as we're speaking, write them down, and we're going to open this up for conversation, question and answer at the end. Today's topic, and I'm going to pass it to Joe in a second to begin, we're going to spend some time talking about hormones and adrenals, because they are far more critical to your health profile than you may realize. And we're going to talk about some of the obvious things, sleep, for example, and hydration, for example. So, and thinking, the thoughts that are happening up in the mind. Those are the things that we're going to focus on today. And no, we're not going to say, don't eat this, don't eat that, eat every hour or two. That's not what this conversation is about. This is about educating you on how much you can do without or before thinking about the actual things you're going to be putting into your body on a regular basis. So with that, I'll pass it over to Joe to begin.
Thanks, Lori. Hi, everybody. Yes, I'm Joanne Mulhall. And we're so thrilled to be starting this conversation for 2020. Everything Lori said, I can only reiterate and echo with yoo-hoo. I mean, I just turned 58. So this is a pinnacle year, I think, for me, as I get that little bit closer to 60, the big sexy 60, as I'm renaming it. And I'll just tell you a little bit about, where my expertise comes in. So over 20 years as a holistic health practitioner, specializing in iridology, holistic nutrition. I'm also a Reiki level 2 energy practitioner. So, with Lori, we just really wanted to, again, change the focus from a lot of what the shoulds and have tos that are seem to be out there and have been propagated for far too long, and moving into what feels right for you as an individual. And 2020 really is, the theme of 2020 really is a lot around, if you look at numerology and energy wise, about self-care. It's about balance. And yes, we can play on that beautiful 2020 acuity saying, hindsight is always 2020. What about foresight? Let's put foresight as 2020. And that just involves clarity and around tapping into that inner wisdom that we all have, that we oftentimes, as Lori said, we're not listening to. We're not listening to a lot of those things. And again, there's no prescription for that. It's very individual to each person. And so what we want to help illuminate over these conversations is, what do those things look like for you? How do you start to actually pay attention to what feels right for your body? In the technical world of holistic nutrition or naturopathic medicine, we talk a lot about biochemical individuality. Well, that's on a physiological basis, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, we're also an individual. So, what works for Cynthia over here is not going to work for Jennifer over here, and probably isn't going to work for Joanne here, maybe to a certain extent. But this is where, I did a presentation called Out of the Box Nutrition, get out of the box. Like, we have to stop putting ourselves into these prescriptive boxes that we've often operated from that really don't serve us. There's good pieces of information in a lot of everything that's out there. It's really trying to, put the filters on a little bit, disseminate a little bit better about that information, and not just absorb it all and go, well, I have to do that, because you might actually be tipping yourself into an end of the pendulum that isn't the best for you. So that's what I think Lori and I are really good at. And we're really super excited to be talking about this, because this is what we're passionate about. So we're going to try and keep this to 15 minutes, but we're already almost 10 minutes in. So this might be a little bit longer than what we originally thought. What we do want to talk about, though, are some key components. So yes, as Lori mentioned, adrenal function. And I think I'll just say, for women of a certain age, that becomes even much more of a priority. But let's face it, we're all under stress. In this technological age, there is just way too much stimulation, not to mention how much we're actually bombarded by the electromagnetic fields of this high-tech society. And I think that's completely not talked about and completely underemphasized, that our cells are frequency generated. We work on frequency, and our cells function on frequency. So when we're bombarded by all this, the cell towers that are outside my windows, a couple of kilometers apart, we are definitely being impacted by that. And so if it's affecting every single cell, it's affecting every organ, every tissue, and then every organ. And our adrenals, I want you to just visualize. So your adrenals are these tiny little glands about the size of a kidney bean. They sit on top of your kidneys. Hence the size of the kidney bean. I just thought about that. Anyway, they sit on top of your kidneys, and they are I call them the fulcrum. Think of where they are in your body. They're actually right in the middle of your body. They're that balance point from top to bottom. So I do see it as a fulcrum. On a teeter-totter, the fulcrum is the little triangle in the middle where the teeter-totter goes back and forth on. And actually, I think it's a mathematical word, but whatever. I'm not into math. So the adrenals, being where they are, and they are the primary response of our stress mechanisms for our body. So our fight and flight response, and also our long stress response of chronic, stimulating situations that our body needs to respond to. And of course, we need to respond to it mentally, emotionally, spiritually as well. But physically, that's the response mechanism for our fight and flight, which is adrenaline. And then cortisol over the long term is to help our bodies deal with those longer stressful situations, like a long-term illness, or you're giving long-term care to someone, and that's a very stressful situation for you. Those don't happen immediately, like an accident or something like that, but your recovery period could be the long-term stress period. And so our bodies are designed to adapt. That's what we're do to stay alive, and our adrenals are at the core of that. So it's so important that we nourish those adrenals for those reasons. And they have so many other functions in terms of supporting other biofeedback mechanisms within the body. And what I really want to quickly emphasize today is how tied they are to the thyroid gland. And we know hypothyroid issues, especially for women, are quite prevalent. Blood tests do not show adequate thyroid function, and even sometimes hormone tests for adrenals don't show adequate adrenal function. So, and those two are super connected with the pituitary gland. They play a lot off of each other, so much so that symptoms, actual symptoms of hypothyroid or hypoadrenal function are very similar. You have to actually go through a really thorough list to sort of tease the symptoms apart. A lot of them overlap. But if you did do a symptom test on yourself, you might see that you've got more symptoms in one area than the other. But let's just say that they're partners. They work hand in hand. And so to actually nourish your adrenals, you're supporting your thyroid gland on a deeper level. Sometimes just feeding the thyroid gland, which is what people will do with hypothyroid issues, is just not enough, because the adrenals are actually underneath that, under the foundation of that. And so this is where, for those of us who are using our Isogenics products and our Ionics, like I still, after 15 years of working with these products, Ionics is still the gold standard as far as I'm concerned in adrenal adaptive support. Here's the kicker that a lot of people don't dial into, is that we need more support, especially as we age. We need more support if we know we're in stressful situations, or we might be even tagged as an adrenal junkie, where we thrive in high kind of energy situations, which in a good way, a healthy stress or a eustress way, is great, but over the long term, it could still wear you down. So for me personally, and I know Lori will echo this when she jumps in a sec, is I'm 2 to 3 ounces of Ionics a day, most days. And I know hypothyroidism runs in my family, especially on my dad's side in the women. And so, and I physiologically, if you have a long neck, morphology wise, that's a thyroid kind of body morphology, is that long, thin neck, or anybody that's really long and lean typically has a thyroid kind of a constitution. You want that extra support. If you've got a hyperthyroid where you're burning too fast, that's still a system out of balance. You might be able to eat whatever you like, but and you're not putting on weight. That doesn't mean that it's at a healthy balance point. So I'm going to flip it back to Lori and see what she wants to add on that topic, but we're just zooming through some things here this morning. And yeah.
I love it. And I think this is where we're so excited about the conversation, because things like adrenal health, like in our society, North America specifically, statistically, 79 to 81%, depending on the study, are functioning, adults over the age of 18 are functioning in adrenal burnout.
Absolutely.
Well, if you think about what that's doing to your body, is it any wonder that our brain health, like our mental health, our gut health, and our heart health are suffering? And we have this epidemic, not just of obesity and diabetes, but we have an epidemic of mental health issues where people can't get through the day anymore on their own. And if you go back and go backwards, as a human, by definition, you are here in this experience called your life to experience life not from a place of survival, but from a place of thriving. If you are just in survival mode, which is what functional burnout is, or chronic illness is, where you're just trying to get through the day and you're so distracted because of the impact of whatever your chronic health condition is, then you miss out on so many of the opportunities for experience that this lifetime could give you. And, we go to the end of anyone's life, and you ask an elderly person who's lived this full, rich life, what are your greatest memories? The ability to engage in relationship and have a body that carries them through time and space in the way that gives them joy are the things that they remember the most, the things that were their best memories. It's not the car they drove or the address they lived at or the number of fancy chairs they sat in their house. It's their physical health that allowed them to have a body that could engage in the human condition, as it were. And so being on top of your adrenal health and your thyroid health encompasses the other part of the conversation, which is the three brains that you have in your body are your thinking brain, which is up here, which is your logical brain, which is third, but it's the one that society has made number one. That's number 3 brain. Number 2 brain is your gut. It's actually your largest brain that you have, and it drives everything else. So gut health is critical. And then the second brain is your heart. And so the idea is, especially coming into 2020, that if you can learn to lead from your heart and not your head, then you're going to find more joy in life, which is really what life is all about. And so, as Joe mentioned with the ionics, that's fantastic for adaptogens. And adaptogens are what they say. They allow the body to adapt to stress. So while we're trying to move from survival into thriving and from adrenal burnout into adrenal health, having adaptogenic support is critical. But then knowing that gut health is so important, how can we focus on gut health? Well, the saying I like to use is, you guys might have heard, you are what you eat. No. I believe, Lori says, you are what you absorb. Because I can put food in my body, but if I'm not absorbing it, it's useless. And this is where the mindfulness piece that I'm so passionate about comes in. So whatever you have in front of you, whether it's a healthy meal or whether it's a bag of chips or a can of Coke and a chocolate bar, it doesn't matter what the food is in front of you. The key piece to beginning to shift everything, little hack for you, is that you create ceremony over what it is you are about to put in your body. So you just need to sit your butt down somewhere. So not driving, in movement, or not sitting at your desk while you're at work, where you're looking at your computer, shoveling food in your body, because then you're just going to put on weight because you haven't opened up and turned the key on. So just like you have to turn a key on to get a car to go, you have to turn the key on to your digestion so that you wake that part of your body up and it goes into engine running mode. And all you have to do to create that key code is to sit yourself down and say, body, I love you. Digestion, we are about to put some food in. Please take all the nutrition you can out of it to absorb into my body, and the rest deal with as you need. Thank you. I'm going to enjoy this now. And you mindfully are present while so that's how you turn the key on to get the car going of your digestion, your gut. But then as you are eating, when you're eating almonds, I'll say, just pick an almond. I want you to eat one almond and chew the whole thing till there's nothing left. And then eat the next one and chew the whole thing till there's nothing left. Because you're going to find that you get fuller faster because you're actually tasting your food. You're slowing down to what mealtime used to be like before our technological insanity that we live in right now.
Yeah.
If it's a sandwich, you have one bite, you chew it, you swallow it, and then you have the next bite. So it's this process of slowing down the whole mealtime. So you may, if you only have 5 minutes, maybe what you used to shovel in to try and get quantity in under speed, you're going to change completely and you're going to eat a fraction of that. But the difference is that you're going to absorb so much more by eating this way. So whatever your menu choices are, and in our further conversations, we're going to get a lot more into what are some good healthy choices for different parts of your body. Because your tissues, your muscles, your brain, like all the different parts of you that's you, need different kinds of nutrients. So we are going to get a lot more into what are some great options, and how do you combine things, the nutrient timing and protein pacing. But for today, just knowing that as you are now with whatever your nutrition is, making these small changes can have a massive impact on what you digest, what you absorb, which is going to jack up your energy. It's going to jack up your immune system, and it's going to jack up your mental health, because you're going to be giving some nourishment to your brain. So you're going to feel better. So you're turning on those feel-good chemicals.
Yeah. Can I just add in, Lori, because that's such an excellent piece. For those of us who are using the shake and drinking that every single day, I'm going to say that I'm the first one to admit I can be guilty of that, is because it's a liquid and I can drink it as I'm doing other things, that sometimes I get into that place where I'm not paying attention. And it should be the same focus, a little bit of chewing your shake, paying attention to the fact that you're actually consuming it, not just doing it on the fly, running around the kitchen or grabbing it and going, paying attention to that nutrition that you're putting in as well. Absolutely, rest and digest is a really good little phrase to remember around that mindfulness piece, because our digestive system doesn't work if we're got the gas on and we're in go mode.
And that's where you absorb what you eat, not you are what you absorb. And, something I did, because I was guilty of that as well. So in this conversation, every single thing I ever share is because I've lived through burnout 3 times. I have had my entire life flattened in order to rebuild from the ground up. So in terms of organ health issues, in terms of adrenal stress, in terms of losing gut health, mental health, like you name it, I have lived it. So I'm not just preaching, I'm speaking from life experience to hopefully be able to health hack you across the shortcut, so you don't have to go through these life experiences which challenge every fiber of your being. And we're hoping that we can give you some tools. And one of the things I've done to not drink my shake on the go, which I'm totally guilty of, is I make it so thick, and I started throwing frozen fruit and ice cubes back into my shake. And I put in way less water. So it's so thick, I can have a small mouthful at a time, and I really feel it, and I taste it, and I chew it, because I don't blend it until it's fully liquid. And it does slow me down. And I am actually masticating, because when you chew, you create saliva, which helps with the digestion. So if you're drinking your food, if you're a person who's been using isogenics like Joe for 15 years, me for 12, 13, 14 years, whatever. If you do too much liquid drinking, your body forgets how to digest, and you don't have enough digestive enzymes or saliva in your body because you're not chewing enough. And it's really easy to get lazy and kind of go that way for speed. So as Joe mentioned, find a way to chew your food, chew even your shake, make it thicker like I have, keep the ice crunchy in it so that you have to take the time. And it really does make a massive difference. And if weight loss is one of your goals, which for a lot of people at this time of year is a health goal that they have, this is one way to actually drop weight. It is massive by just doing these few little things we've talked about. So the only other thing I wanted to talk about is the importance of sleep. And I'm going to do a really quick hack on that. And then I'm going to pass it to Joe to finish up. So sleep, your body needs 2 sleep cycles a night. Everybody's sleep cycle, one of them is going to be 3.5, 4, or 4.5 hours a night for the vast 98% of the population. How do you figure out how much your sleep cycle is? Sleep without an alarm for about a week and see when you wake up. The first few days, if you're that adrenal burnout, you're going to sleep 10, 12 hours because your body's in severe catch up. But you'll start to notice how many hours you need. The other way, if you don't have the time frame of like a whole week of no alarm because of the way your life is structured, if you tend to wake up in the middle of the night, start tracking how many hours it is when you wake up. Because in your sleep cycle, you start in light sleep, you go down into your deep sleep, and then you come back up out of sleep cycle 1 into 2. And somewhere in the middle of the night, it's usually between 3 and 4 a.m. for a lot of people, you'll be in that light sleep. And that may be something that wakes you up. So you momentarily become alert or aware. And that guides you into, oh, that's the end of sleep cycle 1 as I head back into sleep cycle 2. A lot of people get in the bad habit of getting up, to go to the bathroom, or they get up to go read, or they get up to go do something, watch TV or check their social media, and they lose the twilight zone of staying in light sleep to go back into their second sleep cycle. But if you just get committed to sleeping your 2 complete sleep cycles, your body will thank you with gut health improvements, with mental health improvements, with mood swing balancing, with adrenal balancing, with energy, with all kinds of benefits, including weight loss. You can love yourself healthy, you also sleep yourself healthy. And it is one of the most under talked about hacks in order to benefit all of the other things that we're going to be doing and talking about in the conversation. So I'll pass it back over to you, Jo, because I know you wanted to talk about this too.
Yeah, no, just to add on to that, it's often been talked about that between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. is sort of your key hours for that first sleep cycle. And I have a lot of people who say to me, but that's just not me. I can't go to bed before 10 o'clock, or, I'm a night owl. And I think, again, a lot of that has to do with our habits and what we've been used to doing. So I think in order to shift a lot of that, you really have to just start playing with different times that you go to bed. And if you can create some space, maybe it even is only, sometimes it might only be on a weekend, depending on your schedule. I know people who, like nurses, other healthcare professionals that work shift work, that's a really tricky one. So they have to, hack into those other things in order to figure that out. And those things naturally disrupt your natural sleep cycles anyway. So those are individual cases that have to be talked about. But when you start to just pay attention, and of course, we've got an amazing sleep spray with melatonin in it that actually will help to reset that, what we call the circadian rhythm, so that you can get into that relaxed, restful mode. And here's the thing is that the repair hormones, again, going back to the adrenals, that are produced in order for our body to repair, it's done while we sleep. All those are produced at nighttime when cortisol is supposed to come down in our bodies. DHEA is produced, human growth hormone is produced, so that our bodies can go into repair mode. So if you're not getting adequate sleep, you are completely gypping yourself of any opportunity for your body to rest and repair, which is absolutely critical. So really start paying attention to that. Patricia, she commented, I need 12 hours of sleep. And that's another end of it, which again, maybe there is some underfunctioning in certain, glands in your body that are struggling. You're struggling to keep up with what your body's requirements are. So again, that gets into more individual stuff. And certainly, Patricia, whoever you're connecting, we can help you with that a little bit to fine tune what you're doing. But, sleep is the most basic thing that we can be looking at. And get off your devices in the evening, because that completely disrupts. I mean, I have these fancy little glasses which have the blue filter light, but, I cannot be on my computer or my phone after 8 o'clock at night. I just won't be on it, unless somebody's calling me specifically or whatever. But I personally like to avoid it. And that's what I recommend other people to do. You've got to give your body that space to be able to come down and relax at bedtime. Magnesium is another great nutrient tool to help your body get into that mode, especially for those of us that have spinny brain. And I've been very known to have that at bedtime. So spinny brain just feels like the right word for it. The monkey brain, it's jumping around all over the place. To get yourself into that, more relaxed mode. So I think that's kind of all we have time for. It's already at the half hour today. But we look forward to continuing the conversation. Stay tuned in the group for our next times that we'll be putting up, having a Zoom call. This is recorded, so you can share it. Actually, you can't share it outside the group, but you can invite people into the group to see it. How about that?
And I guess before we go, as we talked about, just one quick thing for getting off devices at night and getting into shutting your brain down. you have a chemical peptide addiction that we're going to talk about to the device. So it is like coming off of any drug, any serious, hard, illegal drug. So you need to know that if you're going to be engaging in this practice, because you have the phone on right till you fall asleep, that there will be withdrawal symptoms, and I can help navigate you through that. I'm super experienced in how to do this, but needing to not judge yourself and needing to have grace and compassion for the fact that there is an actual physiological addiction that is going on here for you and your children that you need to be aware of. It's not just a matter of saying, okay, I'm going to do that, because you will feel it. And before we finish, we said we would open up the floor here. So if those of you who came on, and thank you for coming on to this conversation,
thank you.
have any comments or questions right now, this is a chance to just unmute yourself and speak up.
I don't get 12 hours of sleep. I was just saying I would love to have 12 hours of sleep.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sometimes we would all love that. Thanks, Patricia.
With 6 kids, they never sleep at the same time.
Yeah, that's true. That's a challenge. Yeah.
Thanks, ladies. I have to pop off. I have to take my daughter to the hospital.
Oh, dear.
She fell down the stairs, and we think she's fractured her foot. So she's going back to university too. So